Death Dealer Ray is back for Hall of Trials, and this fight is pretty funny because, first up, most importantly, despite this rotation being designed for Argent Wave's Hwayoung, she is in fact not the best unit yet again. It's actually a 3-star Alexa. So this makes it about 15 times, I think, where the banner unit wasn't the best in slot unit, compared to 10 times where they were. So we are still ahead of Smallgate. Better luck next time. The problem with this rotation, though, is because there is just a bug where Alexa does way more damage than she probably should. She would actually still be better than Hwayoung, even without the bug, but with the bug, it introduces a lot more RNG to the run. So there's two RNG factors to the run. The first one is Dust Devil on Alexa, makes her do a hilarious amount of damage. And the second one is that the other best in slot unit is going to be Ursenia, and Ursenia does not have 100% debuff chance, so you are hoping that you land your debuffs. I'm not going to use Senia because I do not think there will be 100 people that are using Senia, so we are just going to use Alexa instead, and this should be fine for top 100. This will also limit the amount of RNG in the run, and my setup, even though I mentioned that there's Dust Devil RNG, my setup is actually really nice, where in the break phase, even if you proc Dust Devil twice, even if you proc it 0 times, it won't change how the fight plays out. So that is really, really nice. One more thing, not an RNG factor, but Aram's artifact, when it comes out, is going to be the best in slot artifact for your healer, which is going to change the way the fight plays out. But the real issue is that it works without plus 30, but the CR push amount is going to change depending on its level, so your setups are going to look a bit different depending on what level yours is. I'm just going to skip using it for consistency's sake, since this run is RNG enough as it is. And let's go take a look at the team. So our full team is Achates, Alexa, Kawerik, and Tori. Let's go over the roles for each of these slots, plus any alternative unit choices. But we'll first mention that we are going to need 2 or more Thief Heroes in the team in order to get the team bonuses for this rotation, plus a Thief Hero in the front row because, of course, Summer Hwayoung is a Thief. So first up, Achates is here as our cleanser because DDR is going to apply 2 Venoms when he uses S3 and 2 Poisons when he uses S2. During the fight, we also constantly take per HP or current HP percent damage from the Plague unique effect, which we're actually not at that much threat of dying. The only thing that kills us is the poisons, really, because the adds in the fight do not do that much damage. But we're still going to need to keep healed up, because the Plague is going to keep us low. And then we also need Cleanse for the Venoms and the Poisons, and yeah. Achates is kind of just the best in slot here. She's easily the best in slot because her spammable full cleanse and massive heal on S3 with that kind of frequency isn't matched by anybody. She also never has to actually attack during or because of her S2, decreasing her cooldowns, so we never need to waste hits in the break phase, and I would say she doesn't really have any replacement. You could use somebody like maybe Hazel, I guess. I think you could probably get away with using Hazel if you really tried, because then you'd have to tank some Venoms here and there, so it might be harder to survive the actual fight. But somebody with enough non-attack skills to make it through the break phase without attacking. So Hazel lacks cleanses, so you'd have to tank some Venoms. Amelia does have a full cleanse, but her healing is really bad. I'm trying to think who else. Ray is probably an option. But Achates is pretty easy to get and typically very good in Hall, so I would just use her. Next up is Alexa, who acts as our primary DPS. This boss heavily promotes extra attacks, as you can see here. Caster's extra attacks increase damage proportional to the attack of the hero in the back row plus the caster. So, this extra attacks are the way to go for this fight, and Alexa has an extra attack every time she uses S1. I'll mention that I do have her specialty changed, but this probably isn't necessary. She gets a bit of damage from the specialty change. Actually, So I'm thinking about it. I did use one of her specialty change runes for my setup, but there's definitely ways to clear the fight without it. So I would say unless you want to copy my setup exactly, you probably don't need her specialty change. There's definitely ways to just not use it. And I'll mention what the specific part of her specialty change tree that I'm using is later. And the reason I talk about her specialty change is just because it costs 900 Skystones to clear the side story to finish her SC, which is pretty expensive. So I would just use base Alexa unless you're pushing top 100 and you really want to copy my setup and don't want to think about it yourself. The alternative is Summer Hwayoung, I guess, but Alexa does more damage anyways. Next up is Tori, our attack stacker, because the extra attack damage will scale based on the attack of the hero in the back row too. Tori is really nice here, just because we still need a second thief for the team bonus, and she's got self-attack buff on her S3. Also as a bonus, it attack buffs our other units, so we do slightly more damage. Alexa has a self-attack buff anyways that you could set up, but Kawerik likes the attack buff a lot. Also, Tori, her S3 is a non-attack skill, so we can skip a hit in the break phase. Her base attack is really high, so we'll be able to get a lot of attack on her. Also, the barrier that she gets from S1 makes it really easy to tank throughout the fight. DDR targets the unit with the unit in the back row first, so this makes it a lot easier for us to tank, especially because her buffs are undispellable, so she's going to have that barrier even going out of the break phase. And for alternatives, it's really just any thief works here. Ideally one that self-attack buffs, so that your Alexa can do more damage. There's another thing we can do for the slot, but let's talk about the last slot first. In this final slot, we're going to be using Kawerik, who is going to be our AoE Debuffer, because you can see here we need Silence, Provoke, or Redirected Provoke in the overload phase right before the break phase to decrease the exhaustion gauge by 60%. And this is pretty restrictive. So for units that have 100% debuff chance, we've got Cecilia, Kawerik, Fairy Tail Tenebria, and Euphine. I would say Cecilia is probably the one that people are most likely to have because of those 4 units. Cecilia is easily the most useful one for PvE. Fairy Tail Tenebria is nice for PvP, though she is limited. And then Angel of Light Angelica and Hellion Lua do have 100% debuffs on for these ones. The only problem is that they are non-attack skills. You have to actually hit the ads here after suffering an attack. So you have to actually hit them with an attack for them to push up and kill themselves. So it's a bit awkward using AOL or ML Lua. Of the other 4 options I mentioned though, Kawerik and Euphine are generally best in slot because they have an attack percent imprint for the team. My Kawerik is not imprinted, so that is not the case for me. But Kawerik and Tenebria have, or Fairy Tail Tenebria to be specific, have the bonus of not requiring any moles at all to reach 100% debuff chance. I don't think you even need the cooldown reduction decrease. You can check if you need it in the fight, I'm pretty sure you don't. Euphine, on the other hand, needs to max her S2 to max her silence chance, while Cecilia needs +4 on her S3 to max her provoke chance. So that is it for the unit choices, but let's quickly talk about a couple of upgrades that we can technically do that are going to introduce RNG to the run, so I won't use them, but we can talk about how they work at least. So first up is Tempest Surin. Tempest Surin has a debuff chance on her S3. I actually don't know what the value is. It's 85%, and does any of her EEs let her do it? Nope. So it's just 85% chance to debuff. This is not 100% obviously, so there is a chance that you'll just miss the silence and you'll have to restart your fight. But her being a thief means that suddenly we can use pretty much any unit in this back slot, as long as they stack attack and they have high attack. So you could use like Zermia or something and just stack a bunch of attack here. Or you could use some unit with more non-attack skills. There's a lot of options for you to use for the back slot suddenly. It's just 85% chance to debuff, let's see. If you have an 85% proc chance and you have to hit it 6 times in a row, that is a 37.7% chance of having that happen. So it should just open up more options, but RNG. The other option is, you see it on the rankings, we put Senya in the back slot because Senya has a 85% provoke chance again on her S3, but one of her EEs gives her greater attack buff after using her S3, plus her S2 passive giving her a ton of attack, means that she stacks her attack super high, and this is going to greatly increase your Alexa damage just because of how high her attack is going to get. Of course, we do still need a DDR, and this is Elusive Tech, the Senya. I think he did it. I remember him doing it in a previous rotation too. I don't remember which boss, but he's using Verdant add-in just for the 10% damage boost on her S3, which I don't think is very relevant for Alexa's S2 hits, because, or not her S2, for her extra attack hits, because the extra attack should already have a very large extra damage boost modifier due to the hero bonus, but it does boost the other damage, and it doesn't really matter who you use in the slot. Plus, Addon's S3 multiplier is actually super high. I am stuck on not Earth Addon, so I won't be. Well, I couldn't use her anyways. You could just run whatever thief here. It doesn't really matter that much. Just run somebody with like a high damage S3 or something. So Senya, definitely the best in slot AoE Debuffer here. It's just RNG, so I won't be using her. Let's fix the team slots. Let's get Kawerik back in here. And then let's take a look at their stats. We can start off with Achates. So for Achates, I have her on Warhorn for the attack boost for everybody. And then besides that, you're mainly focusing on the speed for speed tuning. She doesn't really need that much. You'd maybe like a bit of HP just for better healing, but like I said, you're staying pretty low HP from Plague, so it's the way sustain works in this fight is very unintuitive, I would say, until like you really look at it. But mainly focus on the speed, and then give her some HP. Her E doesn't really matter. Next up, let's take a look at Kawerik. The Kawerik, I've got him at 202 speed, and then I built him damage just for a little bit of extra damage. Beyond this, it doesn't really matter that much. You can give him a bit of defense or HP if you find him dying. The damage isn't even mandatory, it's just because might as well. And then for his EE, I gave him the attack buff one, though I don't think it really matters that much. None of them really do anything significant. I have Super Duper Water Shooter on him for the attack boost. You could also, after ARAM comes out, you could give Kawerik Warhorn and then give Achates ARAM artifact instead. That would be slightly higher attack for your team. That is one thing to consider. And then we can take a look at his S3. There's no effect chances here, like I mentioned, so you technically don't need any molas here. Maybe the -1 turn, but I don't think we need it. Pretty sure we don't. And this here doesn't really matter either, because it's just because I used to use him for something. But let's take a look at Tori next. Tori is simple. Max out her attack. That's it. With Cruel Mischief as her artifact, just to boost her attack. Her HP and defense don't matter at all, because she is just spamming that barrier on herself. So very simple to hear Tori is just max out her attack. Lastly is Alexa. So Alexa, you have her on a standard DPS build. Pretty much just give her as much damage as you can, destruction plus crit sets, with Dust Devil as the artifact. And I have her at a pretty low speed, so you could maybe reference this. Let's talk about her specialty change real quick. So we can take a look at her runes. Like 10% attack, and then 3% attack for all allies, 5% crit damage is the ones that are boosting her HP. Cold Edge is her S2. That's not really that relevant. Then this is not that relevant either. So this is the damage that you're missing out. It's 13%, or it's 10% attack. This goes into her base, and this is to all allies, so it should be after all boosts. And then this is just 5% crit damage. This is the damage that you're missing out on from the specialty change if you don't do it. The bigger thing is this. 20% extra CR when using her S2. I actually weave this into my run just for consistency's sake, because using this makes it so that whether or not I proc Dust Devil won't change the way the fight plays out. If you don't have her SC, you obviously won't have this, and you'll have to route a little bit differently. So that is one thing to keep in mind. And then let's talk about Dust Devil a little bit. So Dust Devil, 30% chance to attack again with a basic skill when the target survives a basic skill attack. And the fight focuses on extra attacks, right? Dust Devil technically isn't an extra attack. This artifact does not work on other units. I tried it on Summer Hwayoung. It does the same damage on both hits. Then suddenly when you use it on Alexa, the Dust Devil hit does a ton of damage. My guess is because her S1 already has an extra attack. The extra attack is her, is Fel, it's not Lightning Bolt. For some reason, her having already done an extra attack makes the Dust Devil hit counts an extra attack too. I don't know, it's weird. I don't know why it happens, but this increases her damage so much. Even without it though, like I said, if you just change this out for probably Frantic Flight, just to boost her attack, or you could do, if you have a maxed Wind Rider, the 20% attack is probably nice. Something like that. She's going to be better than Hwayoung, just because she gets to extra attack twice per fight. That is it for everyone's stats and everything, though. And I'll also mention that the run you're going to see, I did not proc Dust Devil a single time. But I'm going to mention that, in the fight, you'll see the points where even if I did proc Dust Devil, it wouldn't have changed the way the fight played out. The score I have out here, 67. I did a run right after, immediately proc Dust Devil, my first 3 hits, missed the last 3. So that's what this score is from. And you're going to see the pretty much minimum score I would get with this team. It actually should be a little bit higher, because since I didn't proc Dust Devil at all, I might as well have just given her a attack boosting artifact. But anyways, you can take a look at the run. So at the very start, you'll notice that our CRs are a little bit further down they should be. I don't know why this happens with DDR, but it can make it a bit hard to tell where your actual starting CRs are, because you do have a bit of natural movement. These are my starting CRs though, just for reference. We'll cleanse the Venoms, and then just auto until the overload phase. This Plague, I missed. This Plague unique effect here, at the end of someone's turn, deals additional damage proportional to their current health. This is that damage proc you see pop up every time somebody on our team moves. But then when these guys attack, 1200 damage on Alexa, our squishiest member, is not that much. So even though you're taking a ton of damage from Plague, it's pretty fake. You're never going to be under threat of dying. Typically, the only person who is under threat of dying is going to be your attack stacker in the back, but Tori, with her barrier, has a very easy time tanking all of the damage. These poisons, though, we actually do have to worry about for once. The last 2 times DDR was here, we did not have to worry about it, because we had people that would just immediately cleanse the poisons. Now we have to manually cleanse them. So we're going to not cleanse just yet. I'm going to Achates S2 here, otherwise I die to the poisons. That is because of the silence on DDR S1, we have to cleanse that. But we'll silence them right back. There's the overload phase, Achates will cut Tori. And then we can start it off. We'll S3 here. This gives us attack buff. And also skips our hit for that turn. So we can S1. No Dust Devil proc, unfortunately. Luckily, Tori already gave us speed buff, so us using S2 there is just optimal damage, won't change anything. Then here, well, we have the S1. And the interesting thing we can do is we can use S2 here, and this is actually really nice. This is why I got the extra 20% CR from the rune, because what this does is we're going to cut Tori here. Previously I was using S3, but that would change the break phase depending on whether or not you proc Dust Devil on that first turn, because if you did proc, then you'd be one hit higher, and then Tori taking a turn was pushing it over. So by getting the 20% CR on S2, we cut out Tori's turn, we have one extra hit of leeway still, so even if we proc Dust Devil, we'd still be in the exact same situation with the exact same positions. And surely I will get rewarded with a Dust Devil proc for doing this. Nope. Surely in the next two phases. Luckily Tori, with her undispellable buffs, we can just tank the Venoms with the S1 barrier still. We got a cleanse though, so let's do this. Turn on her skills, and we'll turn it back off after she S3s. So we're in the overload phase again. Again, I'm gonna wait a little bit. We can S3 here. Through the overload phase, Achates will cut and whatnot. Cleanse everything. S3 for attack buff. And we do not proc Dust Devil. We'll use S2 again here to cut ahead of Tori. Then here, get our S3 back. And surely, we do not proc Dust Devil again. We can just cleanse with the Achates here. We're gonna stop the auto a little bit earlier this time because there is something we need to do. We can actually just do it like this. So the thing is I'm going to keep DDR's percent at 70. We're going to leave it there intentionally. I'm gonna hit the sky to avoid hitting DDR. And that is how we can manage his thing a little bit. So here, Tori is 65%. This. Now we're gonna cleanse. And this one. So here, Kawerik is going to end the overload phase, but because of the positions we had coming into here, I intentionally left his bar really high. This means we have to do 2 more hits before the phase actually ends. One of them is just going to be Alexa, plus double proc at a very useless timing, and the second one's going to be Kawerik. I also had full faith in my Achates to cut there. This looks mildly close, but the actual funny thing is even if DDR cut here, it doesn't matter. Because this does not do any damage, it's the only boss where us tanking an S3 here would not kill us. He gets a lot of speed when he goes berserk, but Kawerik was right about to move anyways. So we can S1 him here, put him into the break phase with Tori moving right afterwards. Then, please. Okay. At this point, I'm hoping that we don't proc Dust Devil so we can see what the minimum damage on this team is. Going to S2. S1. We'll... At this point, I don't care about consistency. If I press S3 here, that's 1, 2, 3, so we might as well do it. We're gonna press S3 here. And that basically is just us using up the fact that we have one more hit to work with. And surely... So okay, we did not proc Dust Devil. This is 49 million almost if you proc 0 Dust Devils. If we gave her a damage boosting artifact or something, or Frantic Flight, or the attack boost rather, we would have done way more damage than this. So yeah, this is pretty much like the bare minimum if you're not interested in Dust Devil RNG. Though I had my setup, like my setup doesn't matter if you proc Dust Devil or not. The only thing that would change is in the third phase. At the very end there, you would use S2 instead of S3. But like this, not sure how many people are gonna go for the Dust Devil procs and whatnot. Even a single proc would have put us above third place. But that's it for this setup. And hopefully you guys have some better luck. I'm probably going to do a couple more runs and at least get a couple of procs in. But yeah, see you guys next time.